Good morning, Rosamond, and good morning to everybody else out there. This is the Weaver Gen C, also from Rosamond, California. I did a video regarding a tribute on a gentleman that everyone has known him by, Billie. And he has been well loved and well cared for to a point. But I never had the actual name of the gentleman, and I never had the actual picture of him. It's being passed around on social media, including through I and Rosamond. And wish to show the picture. And this is the picture of Billie, uh, Mr. Weiller. Yeah, if you've noticed this gentleman throughout the years hanging around Albertsons and Chevron, this would be the gentleman. This would be the gentleman that we refer to as Billie. And this is the gentleman that emulates what mental health is all about. The individual dealing with the sick recesses of our brains that are still trying to deal and cope with something traumatized in our heads. And believe me, there's a lot of them out there that are still having issues, but the real time bombs are the guys looking like us. Not with the long stringy hair, though. No, what I'm referring to is the ones that are acting normally, that can theoretically function as normal, and yet we're ticking time bombs. Our own traumas in our head. And as much as I've been observing throughout my life, and reading, and watching things, and not to mention going through it myself, that these traumas can either make us or break us. I've had relatives, I've had cousins that have committed. They made that choice, and not by force either. I imagine that whatever was going through Mr. Weiller's head that had put him on a pathway to God. Well, I suppose God was ready for him. We have had so many people passing in our lifetimes. We've had many people passing without us realizing it. We have yelled and screamed at us at times without even realizing that maybe we have had problems that we could not solve, and that only yelling and screaming at people would get the stress off. Take and pick, neighbors. When you live in an apartment complex, you deal with personalities abound. A gentleman like Mr. Weiller, dealing with whatever was going on through his head, I know a lot of people can't imagine it unless you've already got your own tormenting you constantly, which seems like 25/8. 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. And no, I'm not borrowing it from the Beatles, unfortunately. But I am saying that mental health twists your reality around. Now, there had been famous psychologists or budding psychologists in the field starting it up, trying to figure out the inner workings of our minds. We all know about Freud and how he was trying to do deductive reasoning. Not deductive reasoning, but just trying to reason things out. Indicating that we've got an id, we got a super id, we got an ego. And all three seem to be trying to control our things, our thoughts and our behaviors left and right. Maybe one of them was good. I don't know. Maybe the others are crazy. Sometimes I think so. But whatever that they may be called in Psychology 101, we have those forces constantly battling with us, trying to reorganize our brains, our memories, our thoughts, our feelings. But we're also responsive to a lot of things happening around us. We have grown up with a lot of stimulation in our lives that have either contributed to delinquency of our brains or hasn't. Now, in my own videos, for my own defense, I have been through a great deal, and I usually chart it from age 4 up, because I can't remember what happened prior to that. But because of the changes I've had since the heart operation at age 4, and the life and death experiences I've had afterwards, made a lot of changes in my personality and how I look and view at things left and right. It's left me jaundiced, sometimes fearful, sometimes aggravated, and then I have to keep working through it. I have to keep working for survival. Always under the constant fear that I am not good enough. Because I'm a broken down piece of meat. Maybe something similar had been going in Billie's head. I don't know. Billie wasn't exactly all that communicative to the public or anybody else, but he was able to say a few words here and there. And if he was probably shouting, it was probably at the demons that he was perceiving at the time. His own projections, maybe. His own fears. Something he was sensing that he could not deal with. Those of us, which I wasn't one of them, who knew Billie best, would probably describe him a lot better and would give a better character description of what he was. The only thing I know what he was a disturbed human being trying to survive the only way he could. And as I keep looking at the gentleman here, I'm also reminded of he's only representative of the most extreme cases out there. Because the cases I'm usually more worried about are the ticking time bombs, and that, as I said before, is us. Somewhere inside of us, that if we are not demonstrating anything like that, we are trying to cope, we are trying to survive, we are trying to live a life without having those subconscious monsters coming out to haunt us. Some of us are broken down enough to have those monsters stay with us for a long time, while we still fight for functionality, while we try to fight for our own survival here, trying to communicate to others what we're going through. We can deny it because we're embarrassed by it. It's embarrassing to dealing with our own inner demons inside. Your fears, your phobias, your likes, your dislikes, the monsters that come out that you've been harboring for decades in there that you didn't even realize. And they're still in there. Eventually they'll be taken care of. But just for today, sometimes they'll visit you in your dreams. I know mine do. I can't stand shellfish. That's funny. That's kind of it's kind of funny right there because I hate shellfish. They creep me out. They got pincers and they walk around on the sides or something like that. It just creep me out. Give me nightmares. And yes, I have watched shows regarding that kind of creature. Deadliest Catch on Discovery Channel for several years. But I had the fear long before then. And I never could stand the sight of those damn things. They scared the hell out of me. I never had a personal encounter with them and I never wanted to. But in my horrible dreams, yes, I did. And then snakes and then lizards and scorpions. They come out of the woodworks too. But I know they're representative of whatever's going wrong in my head. Either I'm obsessing over a problem or I've got something that I'm supposed to be dealing with. And if I'm not dealing with it, it's going to deal with me. Or how about falling? Yes, falling. You stick yourself in a car and somehow you're driving up in high places and somehow it starts to fall and you're in the back end. I say that because when I've talked about myself on videos, there was a car crash that I actually had been in. And I've been a passenger, 10 years old. Not the funnest thing to be in, I'll tell you. And I came damn near close to dying in there too. So me and death are almost on one-on-one basis here. But I had never suspected that Billie would have been one of those. I don't know what was going on inside of his head. But right now, the community of Rosamond is trying to pitch in with whatever they can to get a memorial service to remember him. Time and dates will be, well, they'll be announced to the town as soon as the closest kin have been notified. And, sorry. When sleeping with a CPAP machine, a little side note, be careful of the adjustments on your CPAP mask. Sometimes they hurt the face. But I digress. When we hear something, we'll probably say something out there to social media regarding it. It disturbs me. It disturbs me of situations like this happening. A lot of people get stirred up and then they just gradually let it fade out. The interest, the build-up, and an attention release, but there's nothing happening afterwards. I've seen it happen too many times. I hear it too many times. They would say something about they want to do what's right. They want to do something special. And during the honoring of the person, they make dedications. And then, where's the follow through? Where's the follow through? Give me one quick second, please. Sorry about that. Had to take care of something. It just puts me in a bad spot at this point over here to mention things like this because I've seen too many good intentions. I've seen a lot of good ideas that fell upon the wayside. And it's our town has a lot of good intentions for its people and for its own survival. Some of the good intentions have been brought about. It took a long time, but we have change. Certain streets that are paved with lights on them, and now people can see a lot better. You also have stone seats to sit, especially when they use this particular area for their parades and stuff, their memorials. So the town will eventually take care of something. And maybe in time there will be a memorial made somewhere. Of course, the property management has to be notified about what was going on and what they would like to do if there is going to be anything to be done. Say, for example, and I'm saying for an example at this point over here, if there's going to be um, any plaques or any stone memorials to memorialize Billie, people are going to be probably talking about that for weeks. They're hoping, I'm hoping, that Billie doesn't get buried in the wayside of good intentions. As I said before, I've seen too many things like this happen during the time when they're doing a memorial, and just like a couple of weeks, they're still writing high on the intentions. But as the weeks and months go by and things come up, life and its more important issues happens, the importance of one person, the remembrance of one person, gets faded out because we've got other priorities happening. Of course, I know some people are going to say, no, 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 we'll remember, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. I've seen things like this take its sweet time. Eventually we'll get one. Eventually we'll get a memorial. It won't be done automatically, though, because I'll be expecting life and karma at the same time to give us a double whammy through uh, give it to us on Rosamond. Maybe something that'll happen that will divert the town's attention, divert a lot of people's attention, that Billie will be among the many that have faded in time, that hardly anybody speaks his name. And that happens in a lot of the larger towns, such as Palmdale and mostly Lancaster. For some of those who've actually kept the stories alive, they'll keep the fallen alive that way. I was always about to say victim, but he's not a victim. Nope. Just one of the fallen. Just one of the fallen. It scares me, though. Looking at him, I came damn close to being him. If certain choices were made, I could have been him at a younger age, without a dog. I was remembering back in the 80s, 1980s. I was a young man. I was afraid of being evicted out of home. If I was making the other choice. If I was mentally strong enough or crazy enough, I would have said, I'm leaving home, Ma. And I would have been on my own entirely. And the thing is, I wouldn't know how to survive on the streets back then. It makes me wonder how Billie's life was lived. How he was able to survive on the streets all by himself in his situation. I know how it is surviving on my own and almost being thrown out. I know what it's like to be evicted, and through the grace of God and through a lot of people in the community have had put my brother and me, when my brother was still alive, in a motel room for nearly a month before we had this apartment here. Through gracious donations, we survived barely. We may not have survived on the street, but we came damn near close to it. And we lost a lot of our things. Getting evicted out of a trailer home with all your merchandise and all your belongings in there. It's humiliating, humbling, scary as hell. Especially when you're still trying to make a place into a home. And you're still trying to utilize the feelings of home if it's still there. And getting tossed out on our ear like that. It was hard dealing with that. Not always just as hard as dealing with the loss of a mother and going through savings just to keep rent and other things going until more income was going to be coming through and other things weren't taken care of properly, and then out of a trailer home we went. And in this particular place we had to fight for survival just to keep the rent going. Not to mention money for power. Lastly, money for food. My brother had a lot of issues as well. Being a vet. Excuse me one second. Being a vet and dealing with whatever traumas he had gone through the military service. He had served and had been in combat in the 90s, in the first Iraq War. And he came home. And he had to deal with whatever was going through. Well, my brother had a lot of other issues happening in the military. Some of those didn't come up until the last year or two of his life, before it ended in 2018. The PTSD flare-ups were so great, he was losing track of who the hell he was, who I was, where he was, when he was, and who he was. And it was hard to getting him back every single time. I didn't have to call the ambulance, thank God. But I did have to be with him all times, just to make sure he wasn't going through another wig out. Like if he happened to lay down in his favorite recliner and then wake up a few seconds later someone else or something else that he's projecting himself into. I was scared as hell when I almost came close of becoming a victim of that one. So I know what my brother went through for regarding PTSD. I don't know what everyone else would go through PTSD. My brother had seen me go through PTSD a decade ago during a flare up. What Billie was going through on a day by day basis, just for survival. Some days he was good, as I understood, and not driving people crazy. But other days, his inner demon would come out and play with him. Just enough to drive him nuts. It's a theory. It could have been applied. We will never know. We only hear through eyewitness accounts of what happened. But it doesn't tell us what was going on inside of here or inside of here of Billie. Let alone the rest of us. It puts me on alert because I still have to be wary of my own actions and where I am at. What's considered safe and what's not considered safe. I know what it's like to have a place feel so secure, and yet coming out of it, you're on your guard constantly. I know what extreme fear does to a person. I've talked about things like this in too many videos of what I've been going through. Too many of them. And to have this happen. An incident that happens a couple of nights ago concerning about him going at or living right near a truck stop, basically. Gas and food. Somehow, the reports from the California Highway Patrol and the Sheriff's Department were saying that he was. Well, actually, there was a report of a large white male having an argument with a customer, yelling at him, and setting fire to nearby vegetation, where the CHP had to be engaged. And one of the deputies made contact with him. They couldn't calm him down. They tried tasing him a couple of times. That didn't work. Apparently, they had to use lethal. When this person actually had a knife in their hands, and that indicated to the cops that posed a threat to the cops, not to mention to the general safety of everybody around. And what drives me crazy is I'm still not able to verify specifically if this was Billie or not. I'm still scouring through the social medias to see whether or not if this is actually Billie who did this or not, because from reports and from personal experiences I've had with him, which isn't many, just a few choice encounters, that he didn't seem the harboring kind of violent kind of guy. Just disturbed, that's all. And if this was Billie, then I guess those demons got to him. But I kept thinking, what if it wasn't? If it was another gentleman almost like him? But the town knows that Billie lived right in that area. There couldn't have been another person just like him, because I've never seen anybody like him. And neither has the town. So the general assumption is still Billie is dead. And it's tearing apart our town a little bit. It's just rendered our heart. It's given us some pain. There had been some people in this town that didn't exactly like or see eye to eye about the mental health or Billie or anything else like that. They're not quite sure if law enforcement actually did the right thing of their response to handling Billie. I can probably assure them they had to do their safety first. But the problem is sometimes, and it sucks, that lives have to be ruined in the process. And the cops are not immune to their own PTSD. They're not immune to their own tragedy or feelings of it. I just wanted to put this video out again for the general public concerning about our situation here in Rosamond. I may yet include the link to it to the town if they so choose. My personal opinion, yes, it has affected our town a great deal. Because Billie, despite all of his flaws, was still part of the town. He was an endearing quality, but he was also a representation of just how far our own mental health has gone. And a lot of people will hide, will say other things to stay away from the thoughts and feelings that they too might be in danger. They can do that all they want. We still have the ticking time bomb without us realizing it. I know mine's been ticking and been driving me crazy every so often. Speaking of which, it's time to put this old rust bucket back into a broken down bed to sleep for a while. Until next time, guys. There might be another video after this.